What seemed like an ordinary night quickly turned into a life-altering experience. She never expected her husband to make such a request. 3 men, one unforgettable night, and a proposal that left her stunned. Faced with an impossible choice, comply or protect herself, she struggled to comprehend what was happening. Her husband saw no problem, but for her, it was the ultimate betrayal. With trust shattered, can their marriage survive, or has it already reached its breaking point? Don't miss the intense journey ahead. Before continuing the story, tell me which city you are watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. You won't believe what my husband made me do. 3 men one night. It was supposed to be a joke, but it nearly destroyed everything. It was a Friday night. One of those nights where you just want to unwind, let go of the week's stress, and just be with the person you love. My husband and I were lounging around at home, sipping wine, talking about random things. It felt like one of those cozy nights where nothing major was supposed to happen. But then he brought up something that threw me completely off guard. He casually asked if I'd ever thought about being with other men. At first, I thought he was joking, so I laughed it off. But then he continued. He wasn't just asking about any men. He was talking specifically about black men. 3 of them. My heart started racing, and not in a good way. My mind couldn't process what he was suggesting. I mean, who just comes out and says something like that? I stared at him, waiting for some sign that he was pulling my leg, but his expression stayed the same, dead serious. I felt uncomfortable, to say the least. I thought maybe it was some weird fantasy he was sharing, and we'd move on. But no, he kept bringing it up. At first, it was little comments here and there, teasing remarks about what it might be like. Then he started making more direct suggestions. He talked about how it could spice up our relationship, how it would be a one-time thing that could make things more exciting between us. I wasn't even sure how to respond. How was I supposed to react to something like that? Was I supposed to say yes? Was this some kind of test? As the days went by, the topic kept creeping back into our conversations. At first, I shut it down, quickly changing the subject or making excuses. But my husband wouldn't let it go. He even started talking about specific men, friends of his. He said they were all cool guys, that nothing had to happen unless I wanted it to, and that it would just be for fun. My stomach would twist every time he brought it up, but I didn't know how to tell him how deeply it bothered me. Part of me didn't want to start a fight, but another part of me felt this growing sense of resentment. One night he went even further. He suggested we meet these 3 men. He framed it like it was no big deal. Just a casual hangout with some of his friends. I hesitated, unsure if this was another one of his attempts to push me into something I wasn't comfortable with. But for the sake of keeping the peace and not blowing up our marriage over what I hoped was just a bad idea, I reluctantly agreed to go. That evening, we met as friends at a local bar. The whole time I felt nervous, like I was walking into some kind of trap. His friends seemed nice enough, polite, charming, and maybe a little too friendly. But there was an awkwardness in the air. I could sense something just beneath the surface. This unspoken understanding between them and my husband. It made me sick to my stomach. As the night went on, the drinks kept flowing, and the conversations got more flirty. I tried to laugh it off, but deep down, I was extremely uncomfortable. One of the men kept giving me these lingering looks, and every time I felt his eyes on me, I felt this knot tighten in my chest. My husband, on the other hand, seemed totally relaxed, like he was enjoying watching me get all this attention. He kept smiling at me like this was some kind of game. Eventually, we all ended up back at our house. I didn't want to, but my husband insisted it would be more chill to hang out at home. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into something I wasn't ready for. Once we were back at the house, the vibe changed. The guys were sitting on the couch, joking around, but there was a tension in the air. I was in the kitchen trying to keep busy when one of them came in to help me. I wasn't sure if it was fear, excitement, or both. It was like I was on the edge of something dangerous. That's when I realized just how deep I'd gotten myself into this situation. I needed to get out of the kitchen, out of the house, out of this entire mess, but I didn't know how. Every time I tried to move, it felt like something was pulling me back, like this invisible weight was keeping me stuck in place. Please comment number 1. so that I can know that you like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. The air in the kitchen felt thick, almost suffocating. I needed to get out of there, but my feet felt glued to the floor. The man standing next to me wasn't backing off, and the way he was looking at me made my skin crawl. He leaned in even closer, his breath now against my ear, and whispered something else. This time I heard him clearly. "You look like you want this." That was it. That one sentence snapped me out of my frozen state. I backed away quickly, bumping into the counter behind me. I was trying to put as much space between us as possible without causing a scene. My heart was pounding and I could feel my face getting hot, a mix of anger and embarrassment. I needed to stop this now, but my mind was racing, and I didn't know what to do. I looked over at the doorway, hoping my husband would walk in, maybe sense that things had gone too far. But he didn't. I realized in that moment that he wasn't going to. He was the one who had put me in this situation in the first place. I was on my own. I pushed past the guy and made my way to the living room where the other two men were laughing with my husband. They didn't seem to notice the tension or the panic that I was feeling. My husband glanced at me and smiled, completely unaware of the turmoil going on inside me. Or maybe he did know, and he just didn't care. I couldn't tell anymore. I sat down on the edge of the couch, my hands gripping the cushions so hard that my knuckles turned white. I kept thinking about what had just happened in the kitchen, how close things had come to crossing a line that I wasn't ready to cross. I wanted to say something, to tell my husband that this wasn't fun, that this wasn't exciting for me. But I couldn't find the words. The night dragged on, each moment feeling heavier than the last. The men kept drinking, laughing, and my husband continued to play along like everything was normal. But nothing about this was normal. I kept replaying the moment in the kitchen, how close I had come to losing control of the situation. It scared me, and more than that, it made me angry. How could my husband push me into something like this? How could he be so casual about it, as if my feelings didn't matter? Finally, the guys got up to leave. Please pause for 2 seconds. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I watched as they walked out the door, and for the first time that night, I felt like I could breathe again. But the tension wasn't gone. It was still there, simmering just beneath the surface. After they left, I turned to my husband. He was still smiling, like he had just hosted the perfect night. But I couldn't take it anymore. I had to say something. "What was that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What do you mean?" he replied, looking genuinely confused, like he had no idea what I was talking about. "That," I said, motioning toward the door where his friends had just left. "That whole thing, what were you thinking?" He shrugged, his casual demeanor only making me more furious. "It was just a bit of fun. You didn't have to do anything you didn't want to." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did he really not understand? "Fun?" I said, my voice rising. "You call that fun? You put me in a situation where one of your friends was all over me and you just sat there like it was no big deal." My husband's face changed. The smile dropped, and for the first time that night, I saw a flicker of realization in his eyes. But he didn't apologize. Instead, he got defensive. "I thought you were into it," he said. "You didn't say anything. You didn't stop him." That was the last straw. I couldn't hold back anymore. Because I didn't know how. Because I was scared. Do you have any idea how uncomfortable that was for me? How trapped I felt? I thought you were supposed to protect me, not put me in situations like that. The room fell silent. My husband didn't say anything. He just stood there looking at me as if he didn't know what to do. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he muttered a weak apology, but it didn't feel like enough. That night, I slept in the guest room. I needed space, time to think about what had just happened and what it meant for our relationship. I loved my husband, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between us. The familiar feeling once had when looking at him, when talking to him, was no longer there. It was as if the connection we once shared had been severed, and I couldn't find my way back to it. He had pushed me into a situation I wasn't ready for, and I didn't know if I could forgive him for that. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just a mistake, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it wasn't just about that night. It was about trust, about feeling safe and respected in a relationship. And those things had been shattered in a single moment. My husband had crossed a line that I couldn't accept. Up until that point, I had always believed that we could overcome anything together, that our love and trust in each other would be the strong foundation to weather any storm. But that night, I was forced to face the painful truth that love alone isn't enough to hold us together when respect and empathy are no longer present. I felt betrayed, as if everything I had built in this marriage was beginning to crumble. I didn't know if I could ever trust him again, and I didn't know if I could continue living with him in this relationship. There was a gap between us now, a space that no words could fill. Questions kept swirling in my head. How could I continue with him when I felt so deceived? Could I ever look at him the same way again? Or had everything changed forever? The pain didn't just come from his actions. It came from the loss I felt. The loss of trust, the loss of safety, the loss of the respect I had once expected to have in a relationship. I had to ask myself if I could forgive him. I didn't know if I could look into his eyes again and feel the way I once did, or if every time I looked at him, I would just remember that feeling of being violated. And then I realized something. What I needed right now wasn't an apology. What I needed was time. What I needed was space to reflect on myself and understand what I needed in my life. I couldn't just ignore my feelings because I loved him. I had to learn to protect myself, even if it was a painful lesson. And I didn't know if we could recover from this or if I could ever be with him again. But one thing I knew for sure, our relationship needed respect and trust to survive. And without them, I wasn't sure where we would go. So I needed time to think, time to understand what I wanted. Could I ever feel safe and loved with him again? Or had everything changed too deeply to be salvaged? In the end, this story is not just a lesson about trust in marriage, but a wake-up call about how relationships can go awry when respect for each other is lost. In every marriage, the most important thing is sincerity and empathy. A single wrong decision can lead to unforeseen consequences, just as in this story where trust is broken and everything begins to crack. This story serves as a stark reminder of the necessity of protecting oneself in any relationship. We often face situations where we are put in difficult positions, where the people we love may unintentionally or even intentionally make us feel uncomfortable or pressured. The ability to stand up and say no to things that don't feel right is one of the most crucial skills we can develop. It's not always easy, but it's essential. This story speaks volumes about how, when we don't assert our boundaries, we may end up feeling trapped, disrespected, and even hurt. The most important thing we can do is recognize when something is wrong, when it's time to speak up, and when it's time to walk away if necessary. This story also emphasizes the importance of trust in relationships and the boundaries we set for ourselves. It shows how, once that trust is shattered, things can quickly spiral out of control, and the emotional toll can be immense. The lack of respect and disregard for another's comfort and feelings can damage not only a relationship, but also our sense of self-worth. In this story, the main character is forced to confront a situation where her boundaries were disregarded, and she was pushed into something she wasn't ready for. This story is a powerful lesson about the consequences of failing to respect others' boundaries and the importance of maintaining control over one's own life and decisions. We can also learn valuable lessons from this story about the need for clear communication and understanding within relationships. It's not enough to simply assume that someone understands your boundaries or knows how you feel. Open and honest communication is essential. If something feels wrong, it's our responsibility to voice it and make sure our feelings are heard. This story reminds us that in any relationship, mutual respect, empathy, and understanding are the foundations that hold everything together. If you found this story compelling and want to explore more videos that offer valuable lessons and insights into life, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. By subscribing, you'll never miss an update and will always stay informed with new, insightful content. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you can join us in discovering more engaging and fascinating stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.